June 28th, 1914. Gunshots ring out on a street corner in Sarajevo. Within 6 weeks, they ignite a war that kills over 20 million people. The shooter is 19 years old, dying of tuberculosis, and minutes earlier believed his entire plan had already failed completely. This isn't a story of careful planning. It's a story of 6 failed assassins, a wrong turn, and one impossible coincidence. The man in the car is Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Within the hour, he will be dead. How did a single street corner in the Balkans plunge the entire continent of Europe into total, catastrophic war? To understand that street corner, you first have to understand an empire that no longer fully controlled its own restless borders. In 1908, Austria-Hungary formally annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina, a region many Serbian nationalists believed rightfully belonged to Serbia. The annexation enraged an entire generation of young Serbian nationalists, who saw Austria-Hungary as an occupying foreign power. Among the secret groups formed in response was a shadowy nationalist organization known as the Black Hand. Its members trained young volunteers in secrecy, arming them with pistols, small bombs, and vials of cyanide. One of those volunteers is a frail, quiet 19-year-old student from a poor Bosnian farming family, Gavrilo Princip. Princip had once tried to join Serbian guerrilla fighters. He was rejected outright, judged too small and too physically weak. In Belgrade, Princip fell in with a small circle of equally passionate, equally desperate young revolutionaries. Then, in the spring of 1914, they learned something that changes everything. The Archduke himself is coming to Sarajevo. Franz Ferdinand plans to inspect Austro-Hungarian military maneuvers in Bosnia, then tour Sarajevo in an open, unguarded motorcade. To Bosnian nationalists, the timing feels almost like an insult. June 28th is Serbia's most sacred national holiday. For the conspirators, the date isn't a coincidence to overlook. 6 young men are recruited for the plot. Each is given a pistol, a bomb, and a capsule of cyanide. They are stationed at intervals along the planned motorcade route, each one a separate, independent chance to strike out on the morning of June 28th, 1914. The royal motorcade begins moving slowly along a Pelquay, beside the river. Crowds line the street. Flags wave. For a moment, the city genuinely welcomes its future emperor with warmth. The first 2 conspirators along the route freeze completely. Neither can bring himself to act as the car passes. Then the motorcade reaches the 3rd conspirator, Nedeljko Kabrinovic, standing quietly among the crowd near a bridge. Kabrinovic pulls a small bomb from his coat, strikes it against a lamppost to arm it, and throws it toward the car. The bomb bounces off the folded roof of the Archduke's car and rolls beneath the vehicle following behind it. It explodes seconds later, injuring roughly 20 bystanders and officers. The Archduke's own car speeds away, untouched. Kabrinovic swallows his cyanide pill and leaps into the river below, certain his mission has ended in failure. The cyanide is old and weak. It only makes him violently ill. The river beneath the bridge is barely knee-deep. He is dragged out, arrested on the spot, and shouts defiantly at the gathering crowd as officers restrain him. Word of the failed bombing spreads instantly. The remaining conspirators, including Princip, assume the entire plot has collapsed. Dejected, Princip walks away from his position and stops outside a small delicatessen on a nearby side street. Meanwhile, at City Hall, the Archduke arrives furious. His welcoming speech is interrupted before it even properly begins. Franz Ferdinand insists on visiting the officers wounded in the earlier bomb attack, despite his security team's growing alarm. His security chief pleads with him to change the route, or at minimum, cancel the rest of the day's schedule. Franz Ferdinand refuses. He orders the motorcade to drive directly to the hospital instead, along the same original route. Nobody thinks to properly inform every driver in the convoy about this last-minute change in the planned route. The lead car turns down a side street, following the original, now outdated route instead of the corrected one. Someone shouts that they've made a wrong turn. The driver panics and begins slowing the car to reverse course. The car's engine has no reverse gear. The driver is forced to stop completely and disengage it by hand. The car stalls directly in front of Schiller's delicatessen, exactly where a dejected Gavrilo Princip happens to be standing. For a moment, neither man moves. Then Princip realizes the impossible has happened. and steps forward without hesitation. He draws his pistol, steps toward the stalled vehicle, and fires twice at point-blank range into the open car. The first bullet strikes the Archduke directly in the neck. The second strikes Sophie in the abdomen. Neither Franz Ferdinand nor Sophie initially realizes how serious the wounds are. The car speeds toward the nearest residence. Within minutes, both the Archduke and his wife are dead, killed almost instantly by wounds no doctor can reverse. Princip is seized instantly by the crowd and nearby police, dragged away before he can even attempt to flee. He too tries to swallow his cyanide capsule. Like his comrade before him, it only makes him violently ill. Word of the assassination spreads through Sarajevo within the hour, and across Europe's telegraph wires by that evening. Newspapers across the continent run the story the very next morning, most treating it as a tragic, isolated incident. Few realize yet that this single act has just triggered a chain reaction among Europe's tangled web of military alliances. Austria-Hungary, convinced Serbia's government secretly supported the plot, begins quietly preparing a devastating ultimatum. On July 23 RD, nearly a month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary delivers deliberately harsh demands to Serbia's government. The terms are intentionally severe, designed to be almost impossible for any sovereign nation to fully accept. Serbia agrees to nearly every demand, but not quite all of them. For Austria-Hungary, that single gap is enough. On July 28 exactly 1 month after the shooting, Austria-Hungary formally declares war on Serbia. Russia, bound by alliance to defend Serbia, immediately begins mobilizing its own massive military forces. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declares war on Russia in response, then on Russia's ally France. Britain, bound by treaty to protect Belgium's neutrality, enters the war after Germany invades Belgian territory. In less than 6 weeks, a single assassination in a small Balkan city has become a continental catastrophe. The war that follows will last over 4 years, and will fundamentally reshape the entire modern world. Estimates suggest the conflict ultimately kills between 15 and 20 million soldiers and civilians combined. 4 empires collapse entirely by the war's end, including the very Austro-Hungarian throne Franz Ferdinand had been destined to inherit. Gavrilo Princip, too young under Austro-Hungarian law to face execution, is sentenced instead to 20 years in prison. He never leaves that prison alive. Tuberculosis, the illness that had shaped his entire short life, finally kills him in 1918. He dies just months before the war his 2 bullets helped ignite finally, mercifully, comes to an end. Historians still debate exactly how much responsibility rests on one 19-year-old, and how much on the system around him. Today, a small plaque marks that street corner in Sarajevo, quietly commemorating where the modern world changed forever. 2 bullets, 1 wrong turn. 1 dying teenager who had already given up moments before firing them. That is, in the end, how the First World War actually began, not with grand strategy, but with chaos. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. It helps this channel keep uncovering the strange, human moments hidden behind history's biggest turning